Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to take a couple seconds here to wait for the everyone to join. Okay. Oh, it looks like people are still joining. Maybe we just wait another second or two here. Okay, well, good evening, everyone. My name is Dave Dalrymple, and I'm the academic advisor for the Chang School. On behalf of our instructors and staff, I'm honored to welcome you to the Chang School and to Toronto Metropolitan University. Next slide, please. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the land on which the university is built. Toronto is in the Dish with One Spoon territory. The Dish with One Spoon is a treaty between the Anishinaabe, Mississaugas, and Haudenosaunee that bound them to share the territory and protect the land. Subsequent Indigenous nations and peoples, Europeans, and all newcomers have been invited into this treaty in the spirit of peace, friendship, and respect. I want to pay my respects to the Indigenous peoples, elders, and ancestors who stewarded and cared for nature, and the people who lived on the land where the university is located today. Toronto Metropolitan University has made a deep and long-lasting commitment to truth and reconciliation. I invite you to learn more about this work online. Next slide, please. I'd like to go over a few items so you know how to participate in today's orientation. Your microphone will be muted throughout the session so as not to disturb other attendees or the presenters. If you require automated captioning, you can access this feature by activating it in the toolbar at the bottom of your screen. You will have the opportunity to submit questions today by typing them into the Q&A pane in the control panel. We will answer questions throughout the presentation and during the Q&A period at the end of the orientation session. We will answer as many questions as we can during the session. However, if we do run out of time, we'll follow up with an email that provides the questions and answers for your reference. Questions that are of a general nature will be answered through this forum. But if you have a personal question or require a specific detailed answer, please feel free to reach out to us at ce@torontomu.ca so that one of our client services advisors can respond to you directly. Next slide, please. I would like to now introduce you to the Dean of the Chang School, Gary Hepburn. Welcome, Gary.
Thank you, Dave. On behalf of the Chang School, it is my pleasure to welcome each of you to the new student orientation for the fall term. By enrolling in a course and attending this evening's event, you are demonstrating your commitment to continuous learning. These are important first steps on a path towards accomplishing your learning and career goals. Rest assured, you have chosen the right place to invest in your future. You may be able to relate to the fact that many of the Chang School's continuous learners are balancing competing responsibilities, such as commitments to family and full-time jobs. We appreciate that your time is valuable, and we are committed to make your learning experience as fulfilling as possible. Our diverse range of courses and program offerings are meticulously designed by Toronto Metropolitan University faculty members and continuing education contract lecturers to help you stay competitive in a dynamic workforce. Also referred to as instructors, many of our lecturers are employed in the fields in which they teach. They understand your unique needs, and they are dedicated to connecting what they teach to real-world applications. I strongly encourage you to get to know your instructors and leverage their unique experience. Within your courses, you will encounter like-minded learners who share similar goals and interests. You may like to become acquainted with these peers when the opportunities present themselves. A strong and diverse network may prove invaluable in your professional growth. This evening, you will learn about the excellent resources and support services available to you as a Chang School learner. I encourage you to take full advantage of these supports. At the Chang School, we consider ourselves a partner to our learners in their continuous learning. As you progress through your career, we encourage you to keep us top of mind to meet your future learning goals. In closing, please accept our very best wishes for fulfilling and enriching learning experience. Once again, thank you for choosing the Chang School.
Thank you, Gary, for joining us today. I'll take a few minutes now to review what we'll be covering in today's session. We'll start with a review of the various course delivery options available at the Chang School, after which I'll hand things over to my colleague, Cassandra Furwarn, who will provide you with further information about online tools utilized in the delivery of online Chang School courses. We'll then hear from Island Monrose, a current Chang School student who will be sharing some thoughts on their experience of studying at the Chang School. I'll then provide you with an overview of the various support services available to you as a Chang School student. And this will all be followed by a question and answer period. Next slide, please. Chang School courses are delivered in one or more of the following three formats. We have online courses, otherwise known as asynchronous courses. Unlike a traditional on-campus or virtual class experience, online courses do not have scheduled lectures and do not require to be online at specific times. Learning takes place at each student's own pace via web, email, and message boards. In virtualized courses, also known as synchronous courses, students participate in real-time learning via regularly scheduled meeting times involving chat and video conferencing. Unlike asynchronous courses, students are required to be online at specific times. Lastly, we also offer traditional classroom learning, which requires students to attend regularly scheduled lectures on campus on a weekly basis. Next slide, please. And a few things to keep in mind if you are participating in classroom learning this term. Firstly, you'll want to visit your My Service Hub portal to review your course schedule and location. You should also be sure to obtain a TMU One card, as this will be required to enter buildings on campus. We would also strongly encourage you to download the TMU Safe mobile app for campus updates and closures. This is a great way to stay on top of updates if, for example, the school is closed due to a snowstorm. Similarly, we would encourage you to periodically visit our COVID-19 page for any public health updates related to the virus. Your safety is important to us, and we want to make sure you have the necessary resources to stay informed in this regard. Next slide, please. As you can see here, some may require textbooks or other course materials. So you'll want to review your course outline and visit course information pages for more details about this. And similarly, you'll want to review the course outline for more information about your course assessment and evaluation, which will typically involve a variety of assignments, readings, quizzes, tests, and/or exams. Next slide, please. I also want to note here that exams for Chang School courses may be delivered online or on campus. Online exams are by far the most common, and these are completed remotely at your computer at a specific date and time determined by your instructor. However, some of our courses, including many of the courses that are delivered online, will have an on-campus midterm and exam. So we would encourage you to review your course outline to clarify these details. If you live more than 100 kilometers away, you may arrange to write your exam off campus using an approved invigilation service. Next slide, please. Our online courses are delivered using the following online tools: Zoom, Google Meet, and D2L. If your course requires you to access Zoom, please be sure to sign in prior to accessing your class to avoid authentication issues. You can read more about this and other helpful Zoom tips at the link posted on at TMU's Zoom information page. And the link is posted on this link. Next slide, please. Okay, now I'll hand things over to Cassandra Furwarn, who will review some of the online tools used by Chang School students.
Hello, I'm Cassandra. Nice to meet you all. I'm a web technology analyst with digital education strategies department at the Chang School. And I'll be walking you through sort of how to access your courses online and little tips and tricks to know. So we could flip to the next slide, and I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. All right, so getting started. The first thing is logging in, which I'm sure many of you have done by now, but just to get us there, we'll start at my.torontomu.ca and click the login to my.torontomu, and you'll be brought to a little portal where you can enter your username and password and select enter. From here, where you access your courses there's two different options. They both lead you to the exact same place. There's online courses and organizations and your courses in D2L Brightspace. That's this one here. So I'll click that and I'll open up this tab. This is D2L. When people talk about D2L, this is what they're referring to. It has all of your courses over here. Hopefully you have much fewer than I do. And also if you click up here, all your courses will be listed as well, and you can search for them there. For all of this, I'm going to be going rather quickly just so you have an idea of what's going on here, but know that there are many, many different resources that explain this in video form or text form for you. But what I'm going to say is the most important thing I can tell you right now, it tends to be a lifesaver, is setting up your notifications. So if you go over here and click on your name, you'll have the option to do notifications here. So click on that, and you'll be brought to this page. So automatically, several things are notify you through this little alert button, but also you have different options for setting up an email alert or a text message alert. So I have almost everything turned off except for assignment due dates and announcements. So this is sort of helps make your life a whole lot easier. So you can change those around and click save when you feel good about them. Let's take a look at an actual course. We'll look at a sample course called Hedgehogs 101. So when you click on your course, the first thing you're going to see is whatever the most recent announcement is. And if you scroll down, you can also see older announcements here. You also might have a calendar that your instructor may populate or may not. It's sort of up to them. This bar is going to be rather standard. The setup is going to be rather standard, but instructors can do sort of different things depending on how they want the course to go. So on this front page, you're also going to see this little robot, which can help guide you. Ooh, a little slow to load. If you have sort of some questions and help get you some links to answers. So the very main page part of this is the course material. So I'll click on that. And what we're going to see is a table of contents with different information. Usually it tends to look quite like this. Often they'll be arranged by weeks or modules, or maybe all your modules will be in one little section here. So you click on that and it gives you course modules to look at or a welcome page. Assignments can sometimes be found here as well. But where you mainly want to find assignments, if you click on assessment, and you've got this little assignment section as well as quizzes section. So this assignment, Why Are Hedgehogs Spiky, is linked here, but it's also accessible under assignments, and all of your little hand-in areas is going to be here. Some people call it a Dropbox, but it's just sort of your assignment area. So if we go here, and I'm just going to switch to student mode so you can see exactly what this will look like. Assessment assignments. So we'll see, this is not something we have access to yet as a student, but it's there and we know that it's not submitted. And when it is time to be able to submit, when our instructor gives us access, this will be linked in blue and you can click on it and there'll be a little area for you to drop your files in and submit. We also have underneath the assessment tab, the quizzes tab. So this is if you're taking any online quizzes, you'll find them here. See, this one's blue, so we have access to it and there's a due date. And if I click on that, then it'll give us a page to start the quiz. The quiz isn't started yet, but it's given us a little summary, a description, some details. And then a little start quiz button will be down here when it's time to start it. And if this was a real course, which it isn't, but it's a good example. So we have our assignments and we have our quizzes. And the next sort of tab that interests us is our discussions. So underneath communication, we have discussions, groups, and announcements. Announcements are exactly what we saw on the main page, which we can get to again if we click this icon over here. And discussions, we have oftentimes there'll be discussions linked to different modules or different weeks. Maybe there'll be an area to have sort of discussions with your fellow students or public questions and answering areas. So to participate in one of these discussions, we can click on the title here. We can subscribe to it if we want notifications when new people have posted. And we can start a new thread, which will create a post here. And people can reply to them, and you can reply back to them. There we go. So what's next? There's also groups over here. So if you have a group that you need to join, or your instructor has put you in a group, you'll find it under here. So if you've already been assigned to one, you'll have the group listed under here. You can click on the underneath members to see who else is in your group. And you can also email the rest of your group members. There's also sometimes discussions linked to this. So the discussions we were just looking at, here's one specifically for your group members. If you need to join a group, there's also view available groups over here. Announcements, we took a look at already. Grades, one of the most important things to many people. So if you click on that, we'll have the grade items listed and the weight achieved. Not all your grades might be listed at once. Sometimes instructors release the items slowly, so it's not to scare you if you have a whole bunch of zeros. But this is where you would find grades. All right, last but definitely not least is the help section. So because this all went rather quickly, and I'm sure none of you feel super confident about memorizing everything I just said, if you go to help, there's sort of different things that can guide you here. So if you're really, really confused or you're having issues, something's happening that really shouldn't happen, request assistance is your friend. It will help get you to exactly where you need to be. You can say what's going wrong and send a request, and help@TorontoMU will get back to you. This is also the email you can hit up if there's any issues happening from what you think is a technical point of view on D2L. You can also give them a call. Also underneath help is resources for learning online. So if you want to see this in a text format, there's a student guide down here, getting started with D2L, lots of different things that can be helpful, and doing Zoom and whatnot. So there's a few different things there you can check out as well. Those are sort of our main ones for help. I'm going to stop sharing and we're going to take a look at the slides. Again, if you could share those. Great. A little back and a little more forward, one more forward. Thank you. Okay, so here are some other helpful things here. So I already showed you resources for learning online and the help tab. The other thing is the Ready to Learn scavenger hunt. So this is a course that's available to you. It's not for any grades or anything. If you click on it, it gives you sort of a different, a little step-by-step guide, a scavenger hunt to find different things in D2L to help teach you what is going on within that in sort of fun learning environment. There's also the Courses at Toronto Metropolitan University LMS support link, which is more text information on using D2L. Oh, something I didn't show you. Oh, I did. No, to the chatbot, which is also available to you. If you go to the next slide, my final slide, we also have a link to all the free software available to you. So that includes things like the Office 365 suite and some other things that you may find useful. And then we also have this email. This is the email that I respond to, dehelp@torontomu.ca. So typically we are not a main student email, but sort of any email that's related to the university or the Chang School, that's sort of a help desk, we will redirect you to who you need to be talking to, or rather we will answer your question if we can answer your question, or else send your question to the correct people. So feel free to email any email that you find for this sort of thing. And I think that is it for me.
Okay, thank you, Cassandra. Cassandra will stay on after the end of the session to answer your technical questions. Now let's hear from a student who will share their experiences with online learning at the Chang School. Island Monrose is a student in our Spending the Gaps University Transition Program. Island will provide you with some useful tips and tricks for new students.
Hi, everyone. I see we have a large group, so thanks so much for making the time to attend this meeting. My name is Island. I'm actually a first-year undergrad student, but I'm still taking 2 courses with the Chang School. I previously completed the Spanning the Gaps program as a mature student. You can switch to the next slide. Okay, so my experience with the Chang School has honestly been 10 out of 10. I highly recommend it. If you're a working person, a parent, maybe you want to change careers, you're new to the country, whatever the case may be, education is not just a one fit thing, and people might have unique needs for their education. The Chang School takes all of that into consideration. They offer flexible scheduling, they hold you accountable, and they are there to offer you extra support. You can switch to the next slide. I stayed engaged in this course by utilizing and staying on top of my D2L platform, which I know it looks really intimidating. I promise it's not, and you will get the hang of it. Working in collaboration with other students, which is a big thing, because if you continue on into other studies, maybe within the university, there will be lots of group work and participation. It's very important to participate. You get what you put into your learning. So if you put in a lot, you'll get a lot. If you put in a little, you'll get a little. It's all up to you. That's everything. Sorry, I meant to say next slide. Yeah, the Chang School's great, guys. Honestly, if you're thinking about it, debating it, I highly recommend it.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Island. Now I'm going to review the various support services available to you as a Chang School student. Next slide, please. First off, our amazing client services team. This is the frontline support at the Chang School, and they are there to provide information, advice, and support to all students taking continuing education courses. It's a very well-informed team, and they can handle questions related to course information, course enrollment, certificate information, student support and resources, or really anything else that you have questions about with the Chang School. It's a great place to start if you're looking for some direction. Next slide, please. And you can find contact information for our client services team here. They can be reached by email, phone, or in person at 297 Victoria Street. And if you visit our Contact Us page, you can find more specific hours of operation for phone and in-person services. Next slide, please. Another great support resource for you, especially if you're a new student, is our term startup checklist. You can see the link posted there. This is a centralized page for helpful tips and supports to help you get started with your term and get you off on the right foot. So whether it's looking for help with obtaining your one card, or finding important dates, or downloading the Chang Plus mobile app, or looking for help with activating your TMU identity, you can find it all located in this one place. So once again, especially if you're a new student, we would encourage you to visit this page. Next slide, please. So that's me. I'm just going to go over academic advising at the Chang School, and I want to shout out again the client services team. A lot of what they do is academic advising as well. So there's definitely some overlap in our roles. But broadly speaking, my role is to provide prospective and current students with support in reaching their academic and professional goals. And really the exact nature of that support can vary from student to student and depending on their individual needs, but it usually involves some combination of the activities you see listed here. And you can book appointments with me, and we have perhaps more time just to discuss things at leisure if you just want to have a casual chat about your academic goals. So whether you have questions about Chang School policies and procedures, or require assistance in choosing between courses or programs, or you just want to chat about how the Chang School can help with your professional aspirations, I'm here to provide you with personalized and ongoing guidance. And again, depending on the nature of your inquiry, I may need to loop in client services or perhaps the academic coordinator for the program that you may be interested in. But I'd still encourage you to reach out to me to start if you just want to have a casual chat about your academic goals. Next slide, please. So I'm available by email at the ceadvisor@torontomu.ca. And you can also use Calendly, as you can see on the right-hand side of the page there, to book either a phone or Google Meet one-on-one advising appointment with me. Next slide, please. We also have a really great career advisor who is not participating in the presentation today. I'm just going to cover some of her services. Her title is actually Career Education Specialist, and her name is Dina Marcos. Dina can help you with a variety of career-related issues, including choosing or changing your career path, developing a job search strategy, or improving your resume, cover letter, networking, and interview skills, etc. She's really great, and I would encourage you to book an appointment if you're looking for some direction in terms of career advising. Next slide, please. And Dina actually works out of the Toronto Met Career Co-op and Student Success Center, which also offers self-led career development resources, career webinars, tailored advising, which is where Dina comes into play, and employer events and career mentoring. Next slide, please. And here are some ways to stay informed of events and updates related to the Career Co-op Center. There is the newsletter, the Career and Co-ops event calendar, and the Chang Plus app events tile. Next slide, please. So here's contact information for Dina. Any current Chang School student has access to her services, so would definitely encourage you to reach out. You can reach her by email or from the, my apologies, on the academic advising page, which was likely posted earlier. There's a booking link for her there as well, but you can just reach out to her directly at dinamarcos@torontomu.ca. Next slide, please. And would like to just briefly go over some of the student services and supports offered through Student Life and Learning Center. A lot of Chang School students I speak with aren't aware that they have access to these supports. So whether it's online group and individual tutoring for math and computer science, or study skills workshops and one-on-one coaching appointments, or writing skills workshops, these are really great resources that people that I speak to, they just typically think that they're only available to degree students, but you do have full access to all these as a Chang School student. Particularly if you have English as a second language or an additional language, the language support services are really great. There's a lot of free resources there to help develop your EAL skills. Next slide, please. We also, similarly, you have the same, you have access to the same academic accommodation supports that would be available to full-time degree student at TMU. So these are offered through the Academic Accommodation Support Office. Students that can provide medical documentation of a disability can work with a facilitator to create and implement individualized academic accommodation plans that may involve technological assistance or specific accommodations related to study time, exam time, note-taking, things like this. So if that's something that that applies to you and you would like to reach out, you can contact them at the link shown on the screen and read more about the intake process. Next slide, please. So we also, as a Chang School student, you have access to services provided through the TMAPS Student Union, the Toronto Metropolitan Association of Part-Time Students. For students who are in registered in a part-time degree. This would include health and dental plan insurance. Unfortunately, Chang School certificate students or students taking individual courses wouldn't have access to this. But you would have access to grants and bursaries that are available specifically for continuing ed students, free legal and tax advice, and I think perhaps most importantly, academic and advocacy support. So if you're having an issue with an instructor or you'd like to appeal a grade, anything along those lines, and you're looking for an advocate to help you with that, with your options, you can reach out to TMAPS for assistance. The Students' Rights Coordinator, Lyndall Musselman, who works with TMAPS, is really great, and she can assist you with any advocacy issues. Next slide, please. Similarly, I have a lot of students, when I talk to them, they wonder what sort of on-campus resources they have in terms of library services. So I just want to reiterate that as with the previously mentioned support services, you do have access to all the same TMU library resources available to degree students, including print and electronic resources, on-campus study spaces, research and digital skills workshops, and the ability to rent books and laptops. And we would encourage you to explore the other library services posted with the link on this page. Next slide, please. Okay, I'm going to hand it over to Brendan Curran.
Thanks, Dave. I don't know if I can be seen right now, so apologies, but thank you for the introduction. I just want to spend a couple of quick minutes just giving a brief overview of our bursary and award opportunities. So if you could please move to the next slide. So Chang School bursaries are offered through the Chang School and the TMU Student Union and TMAPS. So we do have a specific bursary called the G. Raymond Chang School Tuition Fee Bursary. That is to students who can demonstrate financial need. And you do have to go through a budget form within the award spring system. We do actually have one available in the fall, winter, and spring, summer terms. And the bursaries range from around $500 to $800 towards the tuition of one course. So again, that's only for supplementing the cost of one course. The fall application deadline for bursaries is November 24th. So I encourage you to visit Award Spring, and you can see the link is right there in the slide to create a profile. I would recommend that you create a general application, filling out the budget form in as much detail as possible if you suspect that you may qualify for opportunities that are need-based or have a financial need component. And then there's also a little bit of information here on OSAP. I'm not an expert on OSAP, but I encourage you to check out that link as well. So moving on to the next page, please, or next slide. And then we also have some really great merit-based awards, which are sponsored by primarily our donors or sponsored or supporters of the Chang School. So typically these are program specific. We do have, I think, upwards of 40 plus, which are only available to Chang School learners. So I do encourage you to have a look at those once you've created your Award Spring account. Those can range anywhere between $350 to $3,000. And typically you would use that towards your education. So it's a large chunk of money that you can use towards upcoming courses. You do have to be enrolled in a program, in a certificate program most of the time, and also in a course in the given term for which you're applying. So that actually pertains to both the bursaries and our merit-based awards. You must demonstrate that you're currently enrolled in a course, in a Chang School course, when you apply for these opportunities. And the fall application deadline for most of the awards is September 29th. So I do encourage you to create an AwardSpring account. Once you have the account and create your general application, you will be matched with opportunities that are relevant to you. So for instance, you'll be told you can apply for one of our awards called the Marilyn Booth Award. If you indeed are eligible, and that one's actually pretty open, so you very well might be able to apply for that one. So once you're matched to that, I encourage you to go in there and actually complete the application, which is pretty simple from what I understand. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us and my team at CE Awards Bursary at torontomu.ca. Otherwise, best of luck with your studies. Thank you for having me.
Okay, now we're going to pass it off to Suha.
Hi, everybody. I feel like I'm having the same thing as Brendan, where I don't know if you can see me, but thank you, Dave. I'm the Community Relations Specialist at the Chang School, and I want to introduce everybody to the Chang Plus app. We can move on to the next slide, please. We have a bit of a small poll here just to gauge everybody's awareness of the Chang Plus app. If you can see it on the screen or add it to the chat, I'm curious how many of you are aware of that app. It should show up on the screen right now. I'm watching the numbers come in. It seems like quite a split. Okay, so we have a 55% to 45% ratio, so it seems about almost half and half know about the Chang Plus mobile app and don't know about the Chang Plus mobile app. I'll move on to the next slide to tell you a bit about what it is. So we've designed the Chang Plus mobile app as a tool for you to use throughout your learning journey. It's a way for you to get information, reminders, and updates about the Chang School while you're enrolled in your courses. So it's a one-stop shop. You can download it on the App Store or Google Play. We have different tiles when you enter the app that direct you to different things, quick links, resources, events that you can register for, and also connect with our client services team, including Dave, our academic advisor, and the rest of the Chang School's client services team to connect on different questions, inquiries, and get support throughout your learning journey. In terms of joining events, we add events throughout the term, including webinars, panel discussions with industry leaders, as well as online information sessions about different programming throughout the year, different programs throughout the year. Another thing that you can reference on the Chang Plus app is also your exclusive perks and discounts that you receive as a TMU or Chang School student. And then finally, we're adding career support services, including workshops, hiring, and networking events, along with mentoring as well. And we can move on to the next slide. And everything that you can do on the Chang Plus app is network with your fellow peers, other professionals that are within your programs. So there is a student feed, or now renamed a news feed, where you can receive updates, but you can also post and add comments. You can add each other and also add each other as friends to private DM with as well. In order to help us grow the Chang Plus community, we put a QR code on this screen, so you can actually scan it to download the app. And feel free to enter the app, post, and connect with each other. You just went to the next slide, please. And then finally, I just want to bring your attention to the Chang School Stories. This is separate from the Chang Plus app, but it's a way that our team shares stories from different instructors, fellow learners, and industry experts throughout the steps of your career journey, whether you're fresh out of your undergrad looking for a specialization to get your foot in the door in different industries, and then you're also able to, if you're established in your career and you want to upgrade your skills, there's a few levels of insight that you can receive through our content hub. And on the next slide, we can move to it. I have a couple of examples. So things that we have featured at the moment, our most recent article is how to make continuous learning more affordable. So these types of articles give you tips that you can use throughout your learning journey. And there was a link on the last tab, but if you go to our website and access the Content Hub, you can access types of articles like this, expert tips on how to network virtually in person. We have news about scholarships and then different news about learners and alumni throughout our various programs. That's all from me. Thank you. If you have any questions in terms of the Chang Plus app, downloading it, or the Content Hub, you can also feel free to add it in the Q&A section.
Great, thank you, Brendan and Suha, and thanks again to all of the speakers who have contributed to this presentation. We'll now open up our session to questions. If you have a question, please type it into the Q&A box and we will address them one at a time. Since our time is somewhat limited, any questions that are not addressed live will be communicated to all participants after today's session. I'll also remind everyone that any personal questions should be directed to ce@torontomu.ca, which is the email for our client services team.
Hi, Dave. Can you answer some of the questions live from the question pane?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, my apologies. I was just trying to see which were being addressed by Safia and Raymond. So you would ask during sign up if you were able to choose final exam times, Marla? No, typically exam times are fixed. So, you know, under, and Corinne, correct me if I'm wrong, but under extenuating circumstances such as a medical emergency or death in the family, oh, Corinne's going to answer that, so I'm going to pass it off to her now.
Hi, my apologies. I'm the back end trying to answer the questions as well. My name is Corinne Allison. I'm a manager of client services here at the Chang School. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. Your instructor would be the ones that would set up the time for your midterms or assessments and assignments and finals. So usually there's a specific time frame when we do have final exams. So usually that's a specific time in the term or during your course. If, as Dave has mentioned, if you are having extenuating circumstances or something has happened where we need to move a final exam, please do reach out to your instructors. They're the first person to go to, and we do have other ways of requesting for you to move your exam. We can go into details because it really depends on the actual request and the reason why you'd like to have your exam moved to another date. So your instructor will be able to assist you in navigating that process when it happens and if it happens. Typically, exams are set at a certain times to be fair to everyone, so everyone is doing the exact same exam or at a specific time.
I am going to address this last question from, it says anonymous attendee. How do we transfer from our certificate to the degree program? And will our GPA be transferred to our degree program once we enroll? So this is something where the specifics will depend on which certificate you're referring to and which degree program you're referring to. But just by way of example, we have a business management certificate. That is a fairly popular one because it does overlap nicely with some courses from the first and second year of the business management degree offered at TMU. So, you know, a typical case where I would talk to students, as I have this week, about doing that certificate this year is, you know, for example, they would do, there's 8 courses in that certificate. They would maybe take 4 in the fall and 4 in the winter. You have much longer if you wish, but just as an example, this is someone I talked to earlier this week. Completing the 8-course certificate in 2 terms. But completion of the certificate doesn't guarantee entry into the degree. You still do have to apply to the degree in order to gain admission, and it's competitive, just like it is for any other applicant. So you'll want to make sure that you're bringing strong Chang School marks to the table in order to have a good chance of admission to the program. And if you are, it looks like you did mention business management. Okay, so that's this example is appropriate. So, yeah, you would apply. It's a slightly different application process for current TMU students, but you are still considered in the same pool of applicants. And then if you are accepted to, in this case, the business management degree, those 8 courses you have completed through the Chang School would automatically be credited towards your degree requirements. However, they would not be credited towards the GPA of the degree, because whether you're registering in a certificate or registering in a degree, the GPA calculation begins at the time of registration. And so if you're bringing in any transfer credits or any courses, even if they're from the Chang School, to a degree or to a certificate for that matter, your GPA calculation doesn't start until you've registered in that program, whether it's a certificate or GPA. So you'll still get full credit, but it's as I said, the GPA wouldn't be calculated, would only be calculated for courses completed after registration.
Dave, may I ask you a question live? Just because we typically do get a few of these questions from our students when their D2L shell will be available and accessible to them. May I ask you to answer that for us, please?
Yes, of course. So the D2L course shells will be available on the first day of class, whatever that happens to be for your course. The instructors may choose to post that early, but you can rest assured that you will have access to it on the first day of class, just the same way that you would have access to, a hard copy of a course outline if you were attending an on-campus class.
Thank you for that, Dave. If you do have any questions, please just type them in the chat and we'll answer them. We had a few questions that when you registered, you asked ahead of time. So I'm picking the general ones so in this forum to answer while we're here. And some of the questions would be what to expect in a course. So we did go over that. Will the presentation be available after the orientation? Yes, we will provide the presentation and the recording for the presentation here so you can view at your leisure. The best course load for students that are working full-time, it really depends on the student. I know that Dave does do a lot of advising with our students, so maybe Dave, if you can elaborate on how many courses would be best for a student that's working full-time.
Yeah, generally speaking, we recommend 1 to 2 courses max, as a maximum course load if you are working full-time. And, at the very least in that first term, maybe starting with 1 or 2 just to be safe. Because, in the grand scheme of things, taking that 1 extra course is not going to make a huge difference in the first term. But I have talked to so many students who've had to drop courses late and they haven't been able to get any kind of refund. Because they're feeling overburdened by taking more than 2 with a full-time job. And these are, very competent students who are very, very, very competent in their studies, but it's just a lot. It's too much to take on for a lot of people. And obviously that, as Corinne mentioned, it'll depend on the student and depend on the program. But generally 1 or 2 we recommend. And then within the depending on the parameters or the limitations within your specific program, you would likely be free to increase your course load in the next term if you felt like it was something you could do. If it was something like you could manage with your work responsibilities. How to take advantage of previous studies or experiences to reduce the amount of base courses to take. Okay, so Corrine just sent me a direct message that was basically asking how can we, I think the gist of it is how do we use previous education or experience as credit towards the Chang School program. If we're talking about previous education, there is a process for applying for transfer credits, just as you would for a degree program or any post-secondary program. It's a similar process. It's on the same website that TMU students would access if they were applying for degree transfer credits for a degree program. Generally speaking, the courses, they should be quite similar to the target courses in question. I mean, Chang School certificates are fairly focused in content. So if you're going to, for example, bring transfer credits to an HR certificate, they would have to be HR courses that are similar in content from another university or college, typically less than 10 years old, from an accredited post-secondary institution, with grades of over 60% if they're coming from university, or over 70 if they're coming from college. So that would be the general process for transfer credits. When it comes to more like work experience or other types of experience outside of the classroom, this is generally at the discretion of the academic coordinator for each certificate, but some coordinators will allow what are called challenge credits, which allows you to challenge a course. It allows you to say, instead of taking this course, I'm going to do a project that demonstrates existing skills and experiences in this area. So again, that's not necessarily available for all courses, but some academic coordinators will allow it. And I believe it's a maximum of 2 challenge credits per certificate where it's permitted, and a maximum of 50% of the certificate can be transfer credits. And Corrine also sent me a question saying, is graduation from a certificate separate from undergrad? I'm not clear on the meaning of that. Maybe, Corrine, if you're able to, I'm not sure if they mean at the same time of year, like convocation, or if...
I believe so. I think it's during the ceremony. Is the process different or different in any way in terms of graduation?
Are you able to field that one? Just because
for sure, absolutely. So as a certificate student and a student at TMU, the processes or the administrative processes are typically the same. So you have a student record, just like an undergraduate student or grad student. You can you request a transcript, and you have your access to all the different services available as a TMU student. So just like an undergraduate student, your certificate will have a curriculum that you have to complete, and then you graduate from that certificate. So when you're in your final class, then you apply to graduate. There's an application, and there are dates and deadlines. So you adhere to those dates and deadlines and complete your application. They'll review to ensure that you've completed your curriculum. And once you've completed your curriculum, then you're on the list to graduate. The ceremonies are twice a year. So we do have a fall and a spring ceremony. The spring is usually typically the largest ceremony. And you'll get a lot of information from our convocation office that will provide you with details about the day, what to bring, how many invitees you can invite to the ceremony. And you get all those details, and you will attend the convocation just like any other student at TMU. So the process is really the same. The students can complete their certificate and walk across the state, and we'll congratulate them when they're done. So just want to say that the process is the same. If you have any further questions, if that was your question, you can always put it in the chat here, or if you have any questions, you can always email us as well.
Can I
Ju-
transfer? Sorry, can I transfer credit from a university outside Canada? This may be possible, but you would likely have to have the, oh, sorry, Corinne, I don't know if you were going to address that, but this would likely have to be first assessed by a credential assessment agency such as WES or ICAS, World Evaluation Services, or International Credential Assessment. I'm forgetting the acronym, but either one of those two typically before it can be submitted to the transfer credit office for assessment.
And just to add to that, we do have our own internal transfer credit office, so they do take care of that process. So if you have specific questions about you know, how the process works, again, just email us. It's a bit detailed to provide in this general form, but there's an application and a process where you do have to submit your syllabus and your grades, so your transcript, and there's some assessment that's done, just like what Dave noted, but you can email us to for us to explain the process a little bit more in detail. And just reviewing some of the questions that we have from the list of questions that were done during the registration process, there's still a lot of questions about the final exam. So just because there's a lot of questions about final exam, I do want to reiterate what was said before. That final exam, it really depends on if your course is offering an on-campus exam or an online exam. So please review your course outline and the course page for that details to see if the course is in person or online, or your course outlines to see if the instructor will be offering that course specifically on campus or online. Once you have that information, the instructor will also tell you when the exams are and your other assessments, so your assignments, your tests, your midterms. So the best part of this is to review that with your instructor. Your instructor, they're the one to govern the course. They're there to guide you through the course. So a lot of these questions can be answered directly from your instructor because it really depends on the course itself. But if you, again, have any specific questions, you can always send us an email at ce@torontomu.ca.
Okay, so for the business management certificate, if we complete our requirements and some of the second year required courses for the business management degree, and say I do get enrolled into the degree and my credits have been transferred, am I able to take remaining courses for the rest of the degree program? Yes, that's how that would work. And I would just say, like, these kind of questions too, would strongly recommend connecting with a representative from the service hub, the undergraduate registrar's office, just to confirm some of these details, because in your case, like if you're talking specifically about the business management certificate, I think it's my understanding it's a little easier to, you know, take remaining first year courses alongside some second year courses or some remaining electives, and sort of you would be, you know, filling in the gaps, taking sort of a composite year of first and second year courses. I don't think it's quite as easy to do that with every degree, so it's something you would want to confirm with the service hub beforehand. But in the case of the business management program, that would be possible. And I should also mention too, just because I don't think it's come up in the course of the session, even after you've been admitted to your degree program, in many cases, you would be free to continue taking some Chang School courses as to supplement your degree studies. I talk to students all the time who are, you know, maybe they prefer online study and they say, well, I'm going to do 3 courses during the day, but I'd like to take 1 at night or 1 online through the Chang School. And provided we have the equivalent course, that is usually possible. There are some exceptions with that if you're in engineering. But for most programs, that's doable. So just to keep that in mind too, you don't have to, you know, fully shift from the Chang School. You can still continue taking some online courses if you prefer that. Great. And also, just I'm assuming anonymous attendee, I think you're the same person asking about the business management certificate. This is really something too where, because it depends on the individual and the program and all of these sort of specifics, this is where like booking a chat might be helpful. So if you do want to reach out, sorry, I'm just going to so I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time seeing the main chat, but if you would like to book an appointment with me to talk at length, we can take 20 or 30 minutes just to discuss your goals with that certificate and with eventually applying to the degree, just so you have a strong understanding of what that looks like. Okay, well, I'm just going to, there's a couple more questions being answered in the chat. I'm just going to, it looks like those have been taken care of by Safia and Raymond. So I think we're going to wrap things up there. Thank you all for attending. We wish you a successful academic term. We will follow up with you by email after the presentation to find out if you require any additional assistance. And to improve future events like this one, we'll also include a short survey in the follow-up email for you to fill out if you'd like to give us some feedback. Excuse me. If anyone wants to stay on for a few more minutes, some of our staff will remain online to answer your questions. But otherwise, have a great evening.